During the absolutely disastrous press conference that Donald Trump held, where he panicked about the dropping poll numbers and the fact that Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign is surging by pretending like none of that's happening. That was how he coped, and then had a few different back and forths with reporters that we covered. I have to show you a couple of things. While this was going on, CNN cut him off while he was still going with a fact check, which is what we want to see in these moments. And then I have to show you what Vice President Kamala Harris was up to while this was happening. So Trump rambling, lying, panicking. Vice President Harris delivering quite the message in front of the United Auto Workers. So we'll look at that. But first, here is CNN cutting Trump off and fact-checking it.
To fact-check there, so we're just going to run through things here. He said that Kamala Harris is not in favor of giving Israel weapons. She made it very clear, her campaign did this morning, that she is not in favor of an arms embargo of Israel. He said that no one died on January 6th. People were killed. We know that. Ashley Babbitt, 3 others died from medical emergencies. One officer died immediately after having been pepper sprayed in the day following. There were 4 officers who died of suicide in the months after. He talked about how there's a constitutional issue for how Kamala Harris was chosen by the Democratic Party. That's not true. The Constitution doesn't govern how the party selects its candidates. He also talked about the border. He said 20 million people over the border. That's grossly exaggerated. He could have just gone with the actual number. It's not a great number. He chose 20 million. But actually, crossings are down for the last 4 months, the lowest they've been in 3 years since the president signed his executive order. He certainly did not mention that. That is not the picture that he painted. And he also said that in Afghanistan, there had been no deaths in the 18 months before the withdrawal, that no one was even shot at. We'll tell that to the service members who were wounded in 2020. They certainly would disagree with what he said there. He is right, though, that no one died until the withdrawal. And that is in part because that 18 months he's talking about, that is the timeline for when his administration negotiated with the Taliban.
And more U.S. service members died, it should be noted, under Trump, then Biden,
to secure a deal for the U.S. leaving Afghanistan. His administration negotiated that deal, and then he left the execution of that for the Biden administration. Yes, the withdrawal turned out to be a debacle. Critics of the deal also say the deal was a debacle. There are a number of other things, and that includes the crowd size, which he told a lie about of Kamala Harris.
Which clearly is getting at him because he stayed on crowd size for a long time. Jeff Zeleny is back here with us. You were at the rally yesterday.
So a lot of credit to those 2 hosts running through that, or mainly one, but that doesn't even get all of it, which is the difficult part about broadcasting it. But at least they didn't broadcast the entire thing because they realized we got to jump in here and fact check, and then we'll report on anything that's notable, but we can't just give this open platform because of how many lies. Normally, politicians twist the truth and they'll tell little lies here and there. But if they give an hour speech, then you can come on afterwards and say, hey, by the way, here were the 3 areas they misrepresented, right? Or something like that. Whereas Trump, if he does an hour event or 90-minute event, whatever it might be, it might take you 90 minutes to fact check everything that he lied about. And that's what's so difficult about engaging with him in our political process. But what you have to see, and what is the perfect split screen between the candidacy of Trump and that of Vice President Harris, is what he was saying. And again, we covered that in a different segment, just off the walls, crazy stuff, saying we live in a sick country, he said, and we're about to head into a Great Depression. And no, we're not. Things have been very strong economically, and all those sorts of fear-mongering things. That contrasted with Vice President Harris's message in front of the United Auto Workers is really incredible.
Balance. And then the outcome will be fair. And isn't that what we're talking about in this here election? Yes. We're saying we just want fairness. We want dignity for all people. We want to recognize the right all people have to freedom and liberty to make choices, especially those that are about heart and home, and not have their government telling them what to do. campaign is about saying we trust the people.
Yeah.
We see the people. We know the people. You know, one of the things I love about our country? We are a nation of people who believe in those ideals that were foundational to what made us so special as a nation. We believe in those ideals. And the sisters and brothers of labor have always fought for those ideals. Always fought for those ideals. And we know we are a work in progress. We haven't yet quite reached all of those ideals, but we will die trying because we love our country and we believe in who we are. And that's what our campaign is about. We love our country. We believe in our country. We believe in each other. We believe in the collective. We're not falling for these folks who are trying to divide us, trying to separate us, trying to pull us apart. That's not where the strength lies. And there is that. And so I say to all the members of UAW, and Shawn Fain is the first who I talked to about this, I am so deeply honored as a lifelong supporter of union labor for Tim and I to have the endorsement of UAW.
Just incredible. A smaller environment, more off script, it seems, and still nailing it, because we saw the big venue, really well choreographed, and that was awesome. And this is really strong as well. And what's a really noticeable component there is what we talked about yesterday. I know this sounds cheesy, but it's the light versus dark thing. You have a portrayal of America, and thus in many ways a portrayal of where we can go by Trump that is so dark and so hopeless. A third world nation, his words, not mine, he says. A nation in serious decline. Sick, sick country at the recent press conference. He only thinks this is a country worthy of loving when he's the leader of it. Whereas the message from the Harris campaign, the difference is so stark, which is what we are is worthy of being loved. Our ongoing striving to be better is worthy of being loved. And that very love is what motivates us to acknowledge the injustices and acknowledge when things aren't fair and trying to make them more so. And I know it is very possible, unfortunately, for Trump to scare people enough that they go and vote for him, despite it being against their interests and not what I see as the best for the future. But if I'm just going off of vibes, it is really hard to imagine the strength and energy and message, and that more positive message that's still very opposed to something. It's not all, hunky-dory, but is a much more positive, hopeful, unifying message versus the dystopian, dark, destructive vision that comes from Trump. It's hard to imagine, if we do the work properly, that this positive message is not the winning one. And even seeing as Trump just sort of unravels, truly. Maybe it's the age thing. He's also experiencing just some serious decline, but whatever it is, he's falling apart. That press conference was a nightmare. And as that's going on, exactly the same time, Harris is in front of workers talking about the hope, but the acknowledgement of the injustices that are present right now and how we're so motivated because of our love for the country to get out there and work. I have been truly stunned and overwhelmed with gratitude every day, seeing how many people lately are watching the show and subscribing to the show, new people joining the community. It's incredible. If you haven't yet clicked that subscribe button, I would greatly appreciate it. Back to the video. Here's Shawn Fain at the same event.
Donald Trump calls me stupid. And you know why? because he thinks auto workers are stupid. But we're not stupid. We don't fall for Trump's alternative facts, or what we all call lies.
Yeah. Crazy stuff. And I'll show you Fain on Fox News as well saying this.
Look, it's the body of work. I mean, look at him in his own words and his own actions. I mean, I've never seen him stand for working class people. I mean, in 2008, when it came to the auto crisis that was brought on by the banking failure and the economy was thrown into a collapse, I mean, he blamed auto workers then as the problem with the big three. You know, in 2015, he talked about doing a rotation of our good-paying jobs in the Midwest, somewhere else where they pay less, and we'd be begging for our jobs back for less money. You know, he never supported us when he was president. Plants were leaving the country. He did nothing, not one thing, didn't say anything. He told workers at Lordstown, don't sell your houses, and then he did nothing. And the plant closed. They all got displaced all over the country, and he kept on doing what he does. I mean, workers were on strike in 2019. He didn't do a thing, say anything. I mean, he has a long history of not supporting auto workers, and we know what he stands for. So I don't know why we would entertain an endorsement when he has never shown us anything. His actions speak a lot more than his words do.
Yeah. And the difference between the record comparing Harris and Trump, as well as the rhetoric comparing the two of them, could not be more noticeable. And so it's exciting to see that Shawn Fain is not just endorsing, but is out front making the case for the Harris campaign. The Harris Walls campaign is exciting to see. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you want to get extra content daily and support the work we do, you can do so by clicking that join button below.